Hello, everybody, to Treasury Cool Call. Today we are mainly having a retrospective on quarter three and quarter three proposal process. But we will be also looking at the quarter four budget, just to have a quick overview of the consent results and the way we have distributed our funds. And after that, we move into retrospective. We already started a bit early, introducing ourselves to agenda and assigned a meeting summary task. So yeah, in the motherboard, as you can see, I made a slightly change to the dashboard. So now it includes both the percentage and the numbers that were kind of part of the consent process. In the first iteration, we didn't have any rationale needed. So it was meant to kind of have like a heat check on how people feel about proposals, get their first feeling in what they wrote, what they stand for, what they do in the ambassador program. And with this heat check, we can see that no GUILs passed. There were situations where actually two people voted no for everything, and it's unclear was didn't they like any proposal or didn't like the way this process was established. On the second iteration, we did ask now rationale, and that put few GUILs into situation where they had no objections, and then they passed without having to go through more iterations. But we still had quite, for example, strategy GUIL is like a heavy against, and few more that, and most of them don't reach the threshold. So then we started improving the process by a bit, going through what are the objections, kind of making sense, are there really objections, and how can we address them? So by the time we started iteration 3, we had a bit more understanding how to object, and we have two versions here. The first version, even if you look at the first initial version, and compared to the iteration 2, we have far less objections. And in some cases, some work groups don't get any objections at all in the third iteration. So whatever were the objections in the second iteration, the feedback or the learning curve to know how to govern our program had helped us through for some work groups. And based on thresholds, actually a lot of them would have passed without having this round of cleaning up the objections and looking like objectively if the objection is valid and what it actually tries to say. If you do the cleaning, you will find that far more sessions get fully passed compared to the last quarter. We are now in a situation where we have a lot of actually like pushback. The biggest pushback, of course, was the writers work group, and it has been quite problematic, I think, from the start of the year. So yeah, it is a thing that is providing us a pain, and we should perhaps more collectively focus on helping writers work group, because in ambassador program we started this whole thing as an emergent process, and now over the years now actually these groups have more like established themselves. However, this establishment and roles and key individuals have caused this silo effect where not every member of ambassador program knows or can help to support the writers' work to report them or write a cohesive proposal that is understood and agreed by everybody in ambassador program. But regardless of these results, I think, the final governance work group, the writers work group was lifted into the territory of getting rewarded, or I think they improved their budget amount, and that kind of reduced some of the objections. You can read all about the objections in here. At the governance work group did a lot of work on documenting and giving overviews of the status. And we had the memo document in the middle. Then we had the summary doc, which allocates all the objections and in the short form. And then, all the details of what people said is in this consent form that you can go through. I would highly recommend when going into proposing for Q1 to go through all the objections again, what was said, even if it seems like invalid, they still have usually some kind of truth of element in there that could be improved upon. So that was the consent process itself. And as for budget, let me open this up from here. Check. And this is, I think, the final version now. Don't have much. I'm still kind of sad that we don't have a lot of proposals. There are many long-standing work groups and guilds now that have a purpose, have everything kind of said or written in some form, but has not been added or updated for Q4. This would strengthen the onboarding and understanding of what does ambassador program do, where budget lines are, they're just budget lines, activities. The most, the most costly things in ambassador program are R&D and Latam guild, marketing guild, video work group, archives work group, and writers work group, where most of these what I listed are outreach, external, and gathering people from outside and pushing content to outside of the ambassador ecosystem, where archives work group is more looking internally, and the rest of them are kind of, I see a nice average of between 5,000 to 6,000, and then few small ones like education guild, process guild, treasury automation, which take the least funds. Education guild is kind of working from their reserves, so that's why they have a low budget, but they still have a bit of an ad hoc initiatives that they propose this fund. We went 17.5% over the budget, which means in ambassador program we are doing budget fitting. We haven't added any kind of complexity or differences between how we budget fit them. Everybody loses their request amount by the lowering percent. And this means every work group will have to decide what activities they do less or what activities they reward less. And this has been since, I think, Q1. At the first quarter, the first Q1, I think, was the hardest, was the easiest one because we didn't reach the maximum cap. But from Q2 onward, actually even Q2, we didn't reach the maximum cap here. Because the writers work group worked from the reserves. but in quarter 3, we had 25% over budget. In quarter 4, we got it down by 10%. So we are improving. Of course, our proposals and like the amount of things we are doing is also increasing. So it just shows a bit of like decentralization and the fact of how I don't know, is granular, good word to say here, but shows how many different areas we want to cover and feel like it should be done in ambassador program. And scrolling down, you will see the full process of different iterations and guiding documentation. Yeah, so I think shared a bit of what we had overall. Does anybody wants to share anything else on the general ambassador program quarter 4? Like what you think of these results and the way, like the way we came to these results and the way we have the final results. Yes, Peter.
Yeah, well, I think there was a bit of unclarity in the process regarding workgroup reserves and how these are utilized. And yeah, I do feel it would be good to have for the coming quarter to have a bit more clarity on how this works. When does a workgroup need to use their reserves? When can they, well, keep them and save them for later, you know? Is it up to every work group themselves to utilize it whenever they see fit? Like, could they cancel out the budget fitting, for example, by using their reserves if they prefer? Just a bit of a generic outline context setting document on that would be quite welcome, I feel. But that's a personal opinion, of course.
And when you say reserves, you're talking about the budget left by each work group, or are you mean the reserves for ambassador program in general?
Not the work group specific ones.
Yeah.
So the carryover budget. In general, this is assigned already to tasks, you know, in previous proposals. But to me, it's unclear, like, I don't know, can a work group forever not do that task they said they would and have that budget available? Or, yeah, I don't know. It feels like it's just a bit, how to say, well, and not formalized yet. But maybe it is more formalized than I am aware. And yeah.
Yeah. I think for now, every work group and guild is managing their own like reserves. Some do it better, some don't really know anything about it. They just do things and funds flow. Yeah, and I think only the token price has increased the budget for many because the work kind of gets done, but because the price increased, there will be reserves. For example, research and development guild, and I think they used an example that it doesn't matter what's the price is. They allocate specific amount of AJX, so like percentually. So even if they ask $1,000 for research, then if they do the research and the price goes 3x, they just pay 3 times more for that research. Some work groups, for example, in Treasury Guild, I do it very like meticulously by hour, everything. And so even if the task costs 1 hour, $100, but or estimated 5 hours, but it takes 10 hours, we pay for 10 hours. And it has a danger of getting into the reserves or going out of the budget. But so far we have also this price increase has made us have the budget left, so I haven't worried that much about it. But then again, if we do tasks that, like, for example, this meeting summary we shared here, average estimate is like 3 hours. But over time, when I was just only doing it week by week, then eventually I just spent like 1 hour or even like 2 hours to do the summary, and that left hour is going to the leftovers. But yeah, like
Makes sense.
it balances out. And I'm not sure if what others are doing. Probably, yeah, there are more models how to kind of use the reserves. Would be interesting if every work group would do some kind of document on how they manage it, but we would probably need like clear questions to fill out to have like a concise, comparable versions between groups.
Yeah, true. Well, I could see. Oh, sorry, love. I don't mean to ignore your hand up. I could see a quick Google form on it, like figuring out what every group does, including the answer. I don't even know this is a thing. Teach me.
Yes, love.
Um, I don't know if this question is still necessary because you kind of answered it, Tivo. I was going to ask if, let's take for example, a work group had a budget and they were left with, say, 3,000 USD and it's in AGIX. What now happens if that money, if that budget is carried over to the next quarter and the token dips? But from what you explained, I think it will still remain this, it will still dip and you have to deal with the price then, which is a bit, I don't know. It's daunting because if you had a tax that needed that full figure and then the next quarter the token dips, that means you are kind of stranded. Uh, I don't know if it's possible for reserves to be in USD and not counted in AGIX. Just my thoughts.
Yeah, and that's why the reserves are also in AJAX. So if you look at the dashboard, there is no who will stay there because of a reason, because you cannot guarantee the price. To me, this is just exciting, like the opportunity. The more volatile the token is, the actually the better the economy. But yeah, like I guess it's also a clashing of different philosophies here, where some prefer like sustainability and like predictability, where some of us in here work for like long-term visions. We don't even touch the tokens we get for like several years, and then this price fluctuation, what happens now, doesn't really affect us. Well, I have come to understand that the ambassador program has become a lifeline, or not maybe lifeline, but like the work that pays the bills, and then for many. So yeah, we may have to start considering. And that was something that was brought up also and shared at the beginning of, we may need to discuss how could we, like sustain the AGX value, like, and writers were suggesting to swap it into a stable coin. But the problem there is that theoretically we are not acting as an exchange, and the way we are able to provide the services we are as a treasury guild is because we are distributing the same tokens sent to us. I think we have done maybe some ADA swaps, but generally all the ADA that has come was from the early days when we invested around $5,000 in ADA to ambassador program, and then think these thousands of ADA we have been just using since now. But probably at some point we would have to change some AJAX to ADA to keep on doing transactions, because blockchain transactions cost ADA and can't use AJAX yet.
I think that's the same thing writers were contemplating the other time where I Kelechi is not here, where we were talking about if it's possible for Treasury to convert part of our AGIX to stables, and you were saying that since you guys are not officially an exchange, that would be complicated and kind of a long process with tax and all that.
Yeah, with the risk of shifting to that agenda item, there's a bunch of potential blockers there. First of all, we're not a legal entity. So this complicates it a lot. With regards to the shifting to a stablecoin, it's both removing risk on the upside and the downside. So in itself, like if we expect the market to go down, it could be a good move. If we expect it to go up, it would be a bad move. The thing with AGIX being a utility token, first of all, it's just gray area stuff. But yeah, the moment you start shifting it to a stablecoin and compensate people with that stablecoin for tasks, that clearly makes it you start to, from a legal perspective, paying people for work instead of rewarding community contributions with a utility token. It's just super hard to get clarity on what we can and cannot do there because of this gray area.
Yeah. Hmm.
Yeah. This is somewhat actually leads to like if the problem is sustainability, the solution is not changing or exchanging tokens. The solution is providing services to other networks, projects, businesses, teams. Right now, like the easiest like transition of what we do, we have now I would say effectively teach members in ambassador program how to write good proposals, how to write ideas down, how to write down the services, the things they do. Now, the second level is to transform these services into offerings to other networks. For example, Project Catalyst, or even in deep funding, there probably are ways to level up that. And that will basically bring more finances, and that is the sustainability aspect of that.
Yeah, true. Well, on a bit zoomed out level, let's say from a foundation perspective, there's currently a lot of work going on figuring out this stuff in a sustainable way where we have clarity how to operate even. It's a bit of a killer argument, but it looks, the way I'm understanding these conversations, not having a legal entity for the ambassador program blocks a lot. It's also nice because there's no tax right now. The moment we would have a legal entity and we start changing utility tokens for stablecoins, that would be tax. But that really depends on where this entity would live, in which, how to say, which, my English is failing me, I need a bit more coffee.
Jurisdiction.
Jurisdiction is the word. Yeah.
Yeah. So we got from proposal results into legal entities. we definitely moving quite far ahead with our vision. But now let's get to focus on what we have. So yes, right now we don't have a legal entity and it's maybe less predictive, but at least this discussion are educating people on knowing what can be done and what can't be done and what's the downsides. Because yeah, like the tax implications are going to cost more than these price swings right now, actually, if you look at it that way. And it means actually even more paperwork, whereas right now Treasury basically has no documentation funds for this quarter, but then we would have to do documentation for governments to keep in track. Although most of the documentation happens in edge cases because the way we have set up the system, everybody does their own tasks and we basically aggregate them in one call and quite well, I would may say so. Okay, retrospective. Let's start with what went well and what didn't go well. And let's have a roundtable on that. Let me quickly check time. Yeah, we have 45 minutes. If I open up the participant list, I guess this is the name sequence who joined in what order. So the first one, I'm gonna skip Peter because you have talked a lot. I start with Effion. What did go well and what didn't go well in the last round of all this consent and proposal process and management treasury overall?
Hello. So yes,
Hello.
one mic is kind of it's a bit noisy, but I'll try to speak. So what went well, I think for me, was I think the timeline went well. We tried to ensure that everything based on the timeline for each of the iteration. I think that went well. We did not like have like so many iterations as opposed to what's it called? Yeah. And Peter dropped something in the chat here. I think we had something like this already in governance. I think. Yeah, so in governance I actually said the same stuff that yeah, the timeline actually worked well. Worked well. I think the summarization of what's it called? Summarizing concerns. That whole team, the team that we had to come up with to summarize, that's the team of Bani Ese, and some other guys. That team actually helped. I think their activity actually helped in ensuring that we work with our set timeline as well, because that really helped in a whole lot as well. That went well. On top of my head, I think what else? What else went well? Okay, what didn't go well? Let me just skip to what didn't go well. And I come back to what went well. If I remember something else, what didn't go well? I'll say one. The what's it called? The anonymous thingy with the form. I think that didn't go well. It didn't go as planned, anyways. I think that there was one of the session that we had that there was a little bit confrontational because there was a loophole in the Excel where people could see who actually consented and who said what and who did what. I think that really didn't go well. It was a yeah, it didn't go well, and off the top of my head, anyways, I can't really remember. I know that there's something else I said in governance, but I think Peter dropped the link to the mirror the Mario board that we use in doing this in governance. But yeah, off the top of my head, those were things that went well, and that's the thing that didn't go well. Yeah.
Oh, but it won't open for you, Tafa? That's weird. I updated the board to be public now, so it should be visible.
Yeah, and meanwhile I was muted. But Val-Lola, do you want to share what went well, what didn't well around treasury management, consent process, or proposal creation update, or related to reporting?
Hey, if you're with us, hola.
If not, then let's move to Ashley Coventry. Would you like to share what went well, what didn't go well around treasury management, consent process, or proposal reporting?
I think it's still early for me to weigh in.
Were you part of any work groups while they were doing proposals or writing reports?
I've been attending all the meetings, but I'm just learning.
Have you read any proposals on ambassador program or seen these results or budget planning?
I have not.
Okay. Then let's move to Val-Lola. I see you typing. Do you want to share your opinion, or you prefer to do it in chat? Okay, let's then move to the love of Okere. What went well, what didn't go well, and yeah, context of topics are up here.
The deadlines were communicated better, and that's what went well. And will I say this 80% approval thing, it went well and it didn't go well at the same time. It went well because it made it easier for proposals to get past the from passing. But it did go up because the 20% objection, nobody cared about checking it out. So that's what didn't go well. Can you hear me?
Yes, maybe it was a bit laggy, but I understood.
Okay. And another part that didn't go well is the fact that people were just bringing in outrageous budgets and there was nothing like a cap or how far you could go with how much you bring in as budget. I don't know. It was just crazy. But yeah, that's a part I didn't really like. I mean, we literally had to discuss how many percentage writers work group, for example, had to lower just so we can all breathe fine in budgets. So that wasn't really a cool thing to watch. It was tiring. I mean, if there was a cap, nobody would exceed it. Nobody would bother going over. So it was not cool. Uh, what else didn't go well? I think that's all for now. If I remember anything, I'll say it.
Okay. Soup Zero. Do you want to share what went well, what didn't go well around treasury management in general, consent process, or writing, reviewing proposals and the proposal reports?
Well, I think the discuss agenda is very good, progressing.
What? Okay, so agenda item is progressing. What do you mean by that? And is it good thing or bad thing?
Actually, how hard or easy is for you to create a proposal budget? Actually, all the clarity is in that is to perspective is every individual plays a vital role to create and nominate the tasks. So it can be a good achievable things that should be learned in that agenda.
So did I understood correctly? So more collaboration on writing and proposals and the reports. So you kind of noticed.
Yeah, exactly. I'm saying that.
And what you think that didn't go well?
No. I'm saying it's going well. The operations and the task management teams, every individual in that is playing an awesome role.
I understand. But is there anything that didn't go well in that entire process? Either in treasury management, consent process, or something again related to proposals or reporting? So we are doing like two things here, what went well and what didn't go well.
Actually, I am belong to the background where the internet supply is very low, so I can mostly learn and listen and actually here is the internet problems.
Okay. I copy pasted the questions into chat and you can uh, and people can asynchronously add answers. Then now we are circling back to Peter and then me. Peter.
Yeah, I think on treasury management side, what went well is that it looks, at least as a outsider, it looks like a well-oiled machine. It's very, it's just working, it looks like. There has been quite some people saying like, well, we might need to either simplify this process a lot to save time or change to a different system. And yeah, that's a bit of a both went well and didn't work well. There's a document on cost saving measures and alternative approaches to the budget. I think that still needs more follow-up. And I think if that follow-up is if it's there and it's good, then yeah, that's the way to go, I feel. But having more people contribute to that would be very welcome. And we've had that open for, well, a long time by now, but it's asynchronous. So perhaps having a session or two just detailing out what so far has been submitted would be good. Yeah, as others have mentioned, I'm also quite happy with how the timelines worked and were stick to this time. The communications were perfect, or at least to me, were very clear. Yeah, something we also did note in the governance work group was it's like Love mentioned this if there's objections, but it's not more than 20%, we really need to make sure that these objections are still getting the attention they deserve, even if they're not blockers. Also, like you mentioned earlier in the call, for them to be carried over for next quarters. I feel we need a way of like, yeah, how to say that? Well, just make sure we don't forget about them, give them the attention they deserve, and not really inside of the iteration we had, but just, yeah, to carry over. I think that's about it. But for what it's worth, there are this week we'll have a session combining the learnings from governance perspective, at least, of the last quarter, but also the 2 quarters before, where we had a similar retrospective session, just to take some learnings. If there's suggestions that keep being on there every quarter, then maybe we're not picking up on the suggestion. That kind of. That's for coming Thursday, I believe.
Tomorrow.
Tomorrow. Okay. Fair.
And I
No offense, but I was really unable to hear the second part after tomorrow. The audio is getting a bit stretched. Maybe network. But yes, that full on retrospective, let's say, for everything this year, all the quarters this year, that will be tomorrow.
Okay, I said that. Can you hear me now?
When you said, "Can you hear me?" and then we heard you loud and clear. But now we can't hear you at all because you're muted. Here's a specific fact, maybe you can, or statement, you can write it to the chat. Yeah, I guess that leaves now to me what went well. For treasury management side, I would say that, yeah, like I also feel like it's working quite amazingly well. Actually, the fact that I'm no longer just soloing all these organizations is a factor that is like we tried to do it like last year and few attempts, but we didn't get like that motion for people to keep on doing and organizing the treasury transactions. And now somehow it started to kind of pick up, and it's more help on that side, which puts me into the position where I can look how others use the tools and design like automation and improvements to that. When I do it, I can't really see the difficulties. Another thing is the transaction amount has increased by 2. So, but of course the reward amount also has increased since the last time. Then when we compared to 1 year ago. And the fee has only increased by 50%. So it kind of shows that the pattern is scalable, and yeah, the Cardano blockchain is useful to kind of do these distributions in very granular level. What didn't go well, we had the first time a situation also because of like all these now new onboarding and new rules that we come up constantly. We kind of keeping up on time, but there are situations when when I'm now not in the call, or like sequence of things go wrong, then it may end up that, for example, a few weeks ago, we sent out wrong token amounts to wrong people. And that was quite a shock because that was the first time when it happened for us in any network. But even then, there was like the win and opportunity to develop a new standard. For the consent process, I would say, I do also. Well, everybody says the timeline was clear and cool, and to me, it was still felt a bit of rushed. As soon as I came off from like vacation, if we can call it that, like I created Q2 proposals, 5 of them, and then vacation and come back and I will do again three proposals, then went to Q4 proposals, and already Q3 reports, even though the quarter proposals was just funded 1 month before I went to vacation. So I didn't do anything, and we now have to write proposals. However, the good thing is that even if I go out, so that's again something that has went well, is that it's getting more anti-fragile. So one person leaving, the network doesn't stop or slow down the network. Maybe slow down, but yeah, everything kind of continued. The workshops continued, the results, action items, like things happened. And so reporting still had quality information in it. But yeah, to me, it felt a bit rushed. And then, yeah, I don't know. To me, it felt a bit of spammy, like every day, every channel to me. But I guess this is just how I use Discord. To me, it's all the channels are like important and every message is important, but well, maybe most of them mute most of the channels, and that's why this kind of spam fest was going on in every channel. Yeah, even though the first iteration, the check, I think that was useful without having to kind of think of a rationale, but kind of glimpse through. I think this first iteration was actually good. I did like the reviews, even if some were a bit more negative, but even like saying, hey, I think this proposals cost too much, and leaving at that is a good feedback, because then you kind of look at that cool thing you created and with a different eye and try to see how to improve it. And we did find improvements to all of these concerns that were raised, or even the concerns that were not objected to. So to me, that was a very good result. Writing the reviews myself was also a nice learning process, because I didn't know how many of my I don't know if you noticed, but I had like majority of the objections is coming from me, because I want to see quality. I want people to share like what they do. Like when I'm in the work group, I see the results, but I don't do the report for everyone. I hope that these results are reflected in reporting, but they are not. So I'm always like, what the hell? Why missing this? Why missing that? And yeah, that like trying to write objections and concerns is quite a challenge, because I'm a pretty straightforward guy. Then I say I don't like it because of this. I may come up with like a negative. So yeah, having that kind of section where you validate objection, it kind of teaches me how to construct them and see if I'm on the right path. because I think this is something that needs to be done and learned and mastered for future as this governance evolves more and more. And proposal and reporting, yeah, I kind of covered that. So yeah, these are my sections. Well, I didn't take notes, but I guess I can use meeting video or summary later to kind of find where it fits. I also created this one action item for us to do one more sentiment analysis. But before we go to that, let's also address these two questions now. And also another roundtable. How hard or easy is for you to create the proposal, and how hard or easy is for to create the proposal budget? So if you were involved, and if you were not involved, then say like why weren't you involved? And that can be as simple as I trust my work group lead, or the proposal already existed and it didn't need any help. So starting now, vice versa, where I can kind of finish. So Peter, how hard or easy was you to create the proposal?
Well, I only made one proposal for moderators work group, and it was in a way very easy. Mostly because that work group is still in this fake limbo state. So it was more a repeat of a previous one than an actual new proposal with a lot of work to it. Yeah, so that was very easy. That's a bit boring answer, but and the same goes for the budget side of things as well. We did get on the initial round of feedbacks an objection that it didn't consider lowering the budgets as all work groups did, which was a fair comment, and I changed it, and then it passed. So it was smooth sailing from my side.
Okay, thank you. And now Sub-Zero, did you help to create the proposal, create one yourself? And if you did, then why? If you didn't, why not? Yeah, I can see you said you're right. But can you share your a bit of retrospective, how it went then? Was it easy? How it started? What work group guild you were involved in helping to create the proposal? You are muted if you're talking, or you're writing it on chat. Okay, then let me ask Ashley Coventry. Did you get involved in any proposal writing or budget writing?
I'm still observing how the whole process works. I really don't know how.
Were you part of like even if you observed, did you notice any work groups working on proposals or budgets? Or you joined a bit later?
I didn't.
Okay. Then let's move to Val Ola. You can also type and post the questions in chat. How hard or easy is to create a proposal, or did you help any work group cool to create proposals? And can you share a bit of your journey, how it went? And if you did not help any work group, can you share why not? Was it because of a time constraint, or you weren't aware of that process at that time, or you weren't part of the ambassador program at that time? Or there was already proposal set in place and you didn't think there, and the proposal was good and you didn't think there is need of any help? Anything kind of, all the options are valid. Okay. And then let's move to Ethereum. How hard or easy was you to create a proposal, uh, or yeah, or your journey helping creating proposals? Ethan, are you here?
Yes, in chat.
Oh, okay, I'm in the reply section. So you say that it was easy to use a template. All right, you drafted the process coil and maybe even Treasury coil proposal. I know that, yeah, you took up a lot of different proposals to draft. Yeah, I know the template. And the template is right here, reporting guideline. Oh no, this is reporting guidelines. Yeah, actually, don't think we have a template. Well, the template was previous proposal, I think. That was the template. And initially it was, yeah, well, initially was this. This is the template. You go through here and you be like, okay, work information. Okay, this is not needed. Why is work group needed? And then express purposes, calls, list stuff, getting started page, getting quarterly budget. Some treasury rule stuff you can add, discount names, who involved, what do you measure, outcomes, outputs. So that's kind of the visual version of the template. But the thing for this quarter, we used previous proposals as a template, like the headlines. Sub-Zero, you have a question about core contributors role nominating, or what are you trying to say?
Ooh, that does remind me of something which is not really related, but I do want to bring up just for throwing it out there. on the core contributor side of things. So far we haven't. Oh, sorry, go for it.
Yeah, Tivo, actually, I'm misunderstanding about the proposal. I did not read anything. I think you were talking about core contributor role nomination thing. That's it.
Okay. But Peter, what's the concern?
Well, no, it's not a concern, just a thought. On this whole core contributor thing, we never adjusted the parameters. Well, at the start of the introducing this concept, would in theory revisit these parameters, like amount of activity over the past half year, for example. We just didn't adjust that ever. It's always stick at the top of mind 6 hours or 6 hours worth of contributions. I'm not saying we have to change this, but just we haven't revisited, and maybe a revisiting would the result would be, oh, all is good right now, we don't need to change anything. But yeah, that could be good to formally establish them at least.
I'm gonna put it down as an action item, even though this is more like an agenda item. But we definitely can bring it up next session, for example. All right. Okay, I guess one side from me, how hard and easy to create a proposal. So creating a proposal isn't really hard, but it is time consuming. Even that it depends on what this time is also like a perspective. But for me, like 3 hours on a proposal is like very short time and on some level. But then again, it is sometimes like, yeah, if it's a crunch time and you need to create 5 proposals in 1 week, then it's very short time again. But luckily this time around, I was able to, I got help by getting drafts and already information aggregated for me. So that saved a lot of this tension. Probably there wouldn't be like Treasury proposal or something and nobody would have helped me on other proposals. So that went quite well. And of course, why I created and why I'm always having proposals for everything, not just budget, is to keep track of the progress from proposal to proposal, and also to clarify the goals. And also this is like, I noticed it's a very good onboarding material. Anybody has any questions, I have just link to document. It has all the information needed to kind of give the overview of what's happening in the work group or guild or in general. What does ambassador program do with treasuries, or how they manage their groups, and then I can drop them here, check treasury report or check. So that's all kind of was fine. I did like the proposal budget processes too, and actually the fitting. So this time, previous meetings, we went over and addressed, okay, now we have the funding, but we need to budget fitting. And I did like to kind of prune and think about what is most important and how to, but still keep intact the intention that the proposal is striving for. Okay, we have 5 minutes left. There was one thing I wanted to try. So I'm gonna drop my report again. We're gonna do one more sentiment voting round. And while we're doing it, I will then do a meeting summary. So what we're gonna do here is, we don't have many results, but let's see. And maybe it's still give some kind of insight. So all of these yellow sticky notes you see here are our expressions, except the ones that I didn't write down when I said something. And we're gonna select sticky notes. You're gonna have one vote per object. Based on this amount, let's say 5, everybody gets 5 votes and 3 minutes. And what we do is we select the topics you think we should address or focus next. So if you choose something of what didn't go well, this means we should focus on improving that situation. If you focus on, or if you select something what went well, for example, or the timeline was very clear, or for example, you did like that fact, this means you want it to be continued to the like it should have a focus to be continued in next iteration. And yeah, from the left side, I guess nothing from the left side. So basically, is more meant for the what went well and what didn't go well side, and where would you like to put your focus on. And the vote lasts 2 more minutes. Actually, I'm gonna add 4 minutes on here and do my voting, and then I will do a meeting summary. Okay. And now I'm gonna do. Okay, so I'm gonna stop share for a second. I'm gonna stop the recording.